Welcome to lecture at 5.2. This is on the Good Samaritan, and to me, I love a study that was named the Good Samaritan Study. It was conducted by Bib Latney, Daniel Batson, and John Darley. You've read the chapter, I hope, in your textbook on altruism and helping behavior, and this is just kind of to augment that, to take kind of a more intense focus on a narrow aspect of what you were reading about in general. So the parable of the Good Samaritan, we're going to go to the Bible here, and we're going to listen to the story. I know it's kind of a strange role for me, being a social scientist, but I'll out myself here. Way back in the mid-'70s, I was ordained as a minister in the Universal Life Church. That required me to send in $5 to the Universal Life Church, and they sent me a certificate of divination. So I guess I can pull this off. What do you think? I don't know. So let's see how it goes. We're going to start with the parable, and then we'll go ahead and move into some of the scientific ideas surrounding it. So basically the story was told by Jesus, and he said a certain man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers who stripped him and beat him, departed him, leaving him half dead, right? So we've got this poor guy sitting on the side of the road there. By chance, a certain priest was going down the way. When he saw him, he passed on the other side. In the same way, a Levite also. And when he came to the place, saw him passed on the other side. So both these guys just ignored this poor victim of the beating and offered him no help whatever. In fact, they moved so they could walk a greater distance from him. But a certain Samaritan, as he traveled, came where he was. He saw him and was moved with compassion, came to him and bound his wounds, pouring on oil and wine. He set him on his own animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. On the next day when he departed, he took out 2 denarii, gave them to the host, and said, "Take care of him. Whatever you spend beyond that, I will repay you when I return." Now, which of these 3 do you think seemed to be the neighbor to him, and who fell among the robbers? And the man replied, "He who showed mercy upon him." And then Jesus said, "Go and do likewise." Note, and this is from Luke 10:30 to 37. What we're talking about here, obviously, is an ancient issue of rendering help or failing to render help. And this is one stance that was taken on this issue. It leads us to some interesting questions, right? And I'm sure that's the purpose, because it's a parable, and it's designed to make us think. Is it possible that sometimes people help to be good, and other times that maybe people help to appear good? And we may help each other because we're motivated to behave in ways that are consistent with our moral principles. That is, morally, we've internalized that if someone is in need, it is our responsibility as a fellow human being to help them. Others may not have internalized that lesson. They might live by a different mantra, so to speak. So the deal is that we can feel good about ourselves, we can affirm our morality through helping, and that is actually boost our self-esteem, right? But sometimes people help to have the appearance of morality, but actually have a selfish desire to reap the social rewards of helping. Maybe they will receive a certificate, maybe an award. I dare say that, sometimes when students might join organizations, they do it because they want to build their resume. They want to have their transcript look more appealing to the colleges they want to get into, and maybe weren't necessarily interested in helping other than helping themselves get into college, right? So this is kind of what we call maybe a moral hypocrisy in one form or another, right? Now, the empathy altruism model, and this was developed by Batson in 91, right, kind of spells it out, the mechanisms at work, right? And what we have here then is, along the top, do we adopt the other's perspective, that is the victim's perspective in this case? What is our emotional response? And then from those 2 pieces of information, we can discern the type of motive. And once we know the type of motive that a person possesses, we can then tie that to the way that they are likely to satisfy that motive to respond to that motivational force. So we begin then with a simple situation here, a perception. Someone needs help. You have an assignment like that coming up too, don't you? Well, do we adopt the other's perspective? And let's say no, we don't. We don't adopt the other's perspective. We say, oh, look at that poor son of a bitch there. They're hurting, But then I say, I can't look at this anymore, man. That blood is gushing out of him, and it's literally making me sick, right? Notice that I'm suffering personal distress at their expense, at their injury. The type of motive then can be described as egoistic, because where is my involvement? My involvement is with the self and my reaction to observing the distress, right? So it's an egoistic motive, and guess what? If I have an egoistic motive, then the behavior that's likely to occur is some way to reduce my own distress. And the thing here is, if I'm looking at someone who's a bloody mess and it's making me sick and making me uncomfortable, I can satisfy that egoistic motive simply by leaving. That is, I don't have to help them at all. My motive is just to get away from what's distressing me. Now, let's go the other path. Perception that someone needs help, right? And yes, am I able to adopt the other person's perspective? Yes, I am able. And notice now I'm exhibiting what's called empathic concern, a function of empathy. That is, oh my God, I can feel their pain, and their pain is my pain, right? So now it's altruistic, because once I cross that bridge, their pain is my pain. Now I'm demonstrating an altruistic motive. And the deal is, when I'm in this altruistic mindset, then I'm really required to reduce the other person's distress. And then once I reduce the other person's distress, that will likely have the benefit of reducing my distress. But notice, this is empathy, this is altruism, it's about reducing their distress first. So what's going to happen? In that situation, I'm going to observe that person helping others rather than splitting. So when empathic concern is low, personal distress can be reduced by either helping or leaving the situation. Either of those options is available. Helping should decline then if escape from the situation is easy. So if we have someone with an egoistic motive and we give them an easy out, they're likely to take that easy out, right? But when empathic concern is high, helping the other can reduce the helper's distress. Help will be given whether escape is available or not. And that becomes then the litmus test. And notice we have the foundation to operationalize laboratory experiments and observe this then in the laboratory. Escape becomes the key. Escape becomes the independent variable that we're able to manipulate, right? So when we have people of high empathic concern, right, whether the escape is difficult or whether the escape is easy, they're going to help. This is the percentage of people who helped, is 80 to 92% or so, right? But when empathic concern is low, but we make the escape difficult, this red bar, what we see is people will help, but this is probably helping because people are trapped into helping. They'd prefer not to help, but they don't really have a way out without helping. And then finally, if we make escape easy for people of low empathic concern, they're freaking out of there, on a 4 out of 5 kind of ratio. Any questions about that? Now, what is this like in the workplace? When I used to work at the paper mill, in quality control, what they said, hey, we're all given to the United Way. You need to have a paycheck deduction. Our department, it's a contest. We want 100% participation, right? And the boss comes to me and says, Mark, you need to donate, right? And notice, I was not a big fan of the United Way. I gave to other charities. I really didn't want to donate, but man, escape is impossible under those circumstances. Here's my boss, Chuck, looking me in the face saying, how much are you going to put in? So I put in. But notice, it didn't reflect altruism in that case. It reflected my own self-interest. I better do this or Chuck is going to be way pissed at me, right? So the effect of time pressure, this is one more variable that can be manipulated to facilitate the desire to escape, if you will. And this is one of the reasons I did this lecture, is because I love this experiment. So what happened? The effects of time pressure. Well, Darley and Batson, and this is genius, what they do is they go to a seminary school, and these are people learning to be, preachers, learning to be ministers. So they're in college to do this. And the manipulation is, the setup is, they say, hey, you got to go across campus to the small auditorium, and I want you to deliver the parable of the Good Samaritan. Isn't that? So this is just so creative. So the seminary student is told, hey, go across campus, here's the location, and you know the parable of the Good Samaritan. They go, yeah, I know that. Of course they know it because they've learned it, right? But what they manipulate is the time pressure under which the participant is. So people are randomly assigned to the time pressure condition. 1/3 of the people are told, randomly assigned a condition where they're told, you're late, you better hustle your ass over there, get over there, right? And the other group, another third, are told, hey, you're on time, so just take your walk across the campus, you got just enough time to get there, do your thing, right? And the others say, hey, you got plenty of time to get over there, enjoy your walk across campus, whatever, reflect on the story you're going to tell. And as they're walking across campus, there's a prearranged path they're on, and there's, their friend Bib Latine is all dressed up. He's on the stoop of a building, all crunched up, like going, "Arr!" Obviously a man in distress. What do you think the dependent variable is? Yeah, the percent of the seminary students who stop and help Bib Latine, playing the part of a victim. And here's the deal, and here's the effect of time pressure, right? If people are late, only 10% stop to help. That is 90% walked by this poor, unfortunate human being, right? If a little less than half, and this is pretty bad, on time because they don't want to stop because they'll be late, right, if they stop. And those ahead of time, those who had the easiest time of it, right, 60% of them helped. Now, I like to flip numbers on their heads, so to speak. What this is then saying is people with all the time in the world, 40% of these seminary students didn't stop to help on their way to deliver the parable of the Good Samaritan, which to me is like the ultimate in irony. Right? So I just love the study because it's ripe with irony and it's kind of counterintuitive. You would expect everyone to, wouldn't you help? Think about it. You remember in this class we're talking about persuasion. To what extent can you persuade an audience? And that's through your writing in this class. But think about it. I got to go give a talk on the Good Samaritan. What better could I do? What better talk, what more powerful talk would be if I help this person and drag their poor crumpled ass to the talk with me and say, just on my way to the talk today, I encountered this poor person, and rather than walk past, I stopped to help. As in the parable of the Good Samaritan, we can all, that makes, so I don't know what to say. Anyway, love the study, and here we go. Enough for this one, trying to keep them short as we head towards our exit strategy, right? And it's obligatory old school to play the song Help by the Beatles at the beginning of this lecturette. I'm not doing the cliche thing, but I will leave you with the message there. Help, great song, great group, and we'll talk later.